Welcome to the CyberShow. I'm Cheri Sigmon, your host, cybersecurity authority, entrepreneur, and consultant. Tonight on the CyberShow, we have a very special guest to you coming to you live from Calgary, Canada, Lisa Wolny. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. So Lisa Wolny is an author, speaker, mom of four, health guru, and a professional network marketer. She specializes in coaching entrepreneurs on how to earn income from home. As you know, a lot of people are working from home these days, teleworking, remote workforce, and that sort of thing. So we have a story to share. Lisa has a very interesting story to share of something that happened to her in her day-to-day life. So this is a day in the life of Lisa Wolny, business entrepreneur.
Awesome. Cheri, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say, you know, how I love your show. I think it's phenomenal. I love everything that you're doing. And for somebody who's, yes, I've been showing people how to make money, you know, from home for years. I'm one of those that's been working from home for the last 12 years. But it's interesting as I mean, you're the guru in the tech world and with cybersecurity. That is not my wheelhouse. And I can prove to everybody how much it's not my wheelhouse because just so everybody knows, I actually reached out to Cheri. We've known each other for quite some time. We met at a JT Fox event in Florida a couple of years ago. And so I reached out and I said, Cheri, I have a great story to share if you want, because I really want to warn people. What happened to me, and I don't want the same thing to happen to them. And a lot of people are like, I can't believe you fell for that. And yeah, I did, because these guys, as you know, right, these hackers and these people that are preying on innocent people, they're very, very good. And they can almost read and understand what's going on. So one morning I think it was the beginning of last week, I got an email, and it was from, I actually pulled it up on my phone because I wanted to make sure that I was reading. So it's actually from Microsoft Teams. I deal with Microsoft all the time. Not an unusual title, not an unusual email, right? Came from my main email box, whatever. It had, and it had a program that I actually had purchased that I had on my computer. And I knew how much I had purchased. I knew what I had spent on that a year ago. But then it said that this was a membership like that I had to renew, and that my card was getting charged $199.99 US. And I just lost it. And then they're just, you know, if you have any questions or concerns, blah, 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 here's the number. Hey. And I thought, $199.99, I did not sign up for a membership. Like, I paid for this one service, done. And so in Canadian dollars, that's a lot. Add 40% onto the $199. So I'm like, no, I'm taking the time to call. So I did. And, you know, it's really interesting. I started questioning things, but, you know, then they started saying, well, I said, well, here, I want a refund. Okay, no problem. We'll give you a refund, right? You know, we just have to go find this and this, and, you know, just to verify, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you know, I just want my refund. And I started suspecting things when, you know, so he wanted to drive in my computer. Well, the guy that installed all this other stuff and did kind of did a background check on my computer, he drove in my computer, but he was legit, right? He was legit checking for things in my computer. So I'm like, okay, so I let this guy in. That's when it went a little sideways. Mm-hmm. And I knew, but at that point, right, I went, okay, I'm not letting this guy know that I'm onto him, because he is actually now in my computer. And if I really start ticking him off, heaven, like, Lord only knows what he's going to do to my computer. So I kind of played along. I did play along. And right, and I went, it's crazy. Okay, I hate to admit it, but I watch a lot of cop shows, and people are probably thinking, yeah, if you watch a lot of cop shows, you wouldn't let them in the first place. I'm telling you, they're very, very smooth. They're very, very smooth, and I just sort of jumped on that phone call right away. Like, had I just taken a step back and maybe clicked on my email a little bit further, but again, it didn't seem off base to me because I had purchased that a year ago. Right? Had I not, I would have really been questioning things. Mm-hmm. But it was when he told me, once we were back there, I said, well, why are we back here? Why can you not just like, give me a refund on my credit card. And he said, oh, well, we didn't charge your credit card. We took it out of your bank account. And I'm like, my bank account?
I don't think
I wouldn't
so.
have given you my bank account.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
they managed, so he was wanting to do this transfer, and he had to transfer to my bank account. But I could only see my bank account. Anyway, long story short, I saw the amount, because I wrote it down, and he even told me to write it down. It was very interesting, the instructions now. So I was just, again, he was still in there, so I was following along, and I knew, like, so I went, well, I can pull my bank right away, you know, to protect my bank or whatever. But anyway, I wrote it down, and then all of a sudden, he had all this code coming through the screen. And he said, okay, it's gonna come. So I did that, and then it got to the bottom, and he said, put $50 in. He said, we're going to do 2 transactions. We're going to do $50, and then we're going to do the rest, whatever. And I was questioning, and every time I questioned, his voice got, so I thought, okay, Lisa, you better start questioning, because, you know, I pull back a little bit. And so anyway, I put in 50.00. I know what $50 looks like. And then all of a sudden he started freaking out. He was swearing that I hit the wrong amount. It was $5,000. So just so you guys know, my bank account showed up, and I had seen the balance, and all of a sudden there was an extra $5,000 in my bank that it looked completely legit. So then he instructed me to, and I said, here's me. I'm like, don't worry, I'm not going to take your money. I will make sure you get your money, right? Calm down. So he gave me his number. He gave me his name, which had an Indian accent. Well, he gave me a very, very American name, right? The things so many things weren't matching up. And I knew this was not legit. But again, you guys, he was in my computer. So I just went along with it, right? And I said, okay, so what do I do when I get to the bank? So now I'm like, okay, I need really good instructions. What do I do when I get to the bank? Don't tell the teller why you need to take all that $5,000 and keep $300 for yourself. Keep $300 for yourself, because that's kind of what they owed me. And I said, well, what do I do with the other $4,700? And he goes, well, he goes, when you get back home, you call me, and I'm going to give you an address and specific instructions, and you go to FedEx. And I'm like, well, what am I going to FedEx with? He goes, I'm like, a bank draft, or like, what do I, no, cash. I'm like, cash. I said, $4,700 in cash? I'm like, I'm not putting $4,700 in cash. Oh no, it's easy. You just wrap it up, and you're sending a gift, and nobody should be asking any questions, and you send it to this address. So I'm pretending I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
these guys are slick.
Oh man, and he had an answer. It's interesting, because I teach people on how to handle objections. He had been well coached on how to handle every objection, because I was firing all kinds of stuff. He had an answer for everything. It was interesting, right? I thought, wow, these guys are really, really good. But then they got really sloppy, because then they started, especially when I started questioning them. And then, so then when I questioned the cash, he said, well, why don't you send it Bitcoin? I'm like, I don't have Bitcoin. I've never used Bitcoin. I don't know how. I'm familiar with it. But he goes, you mean you've never used a Bitcoin? I'm like, no. So all of a sudden, he pulled up the Bitcoin, and he had a neighborhood not far from me. Well, there's a machine. So he said, okay, so you have the instructions? Yeah. And I said, okay. So I said, what's going on with my computer here? What, like, are you leaving my computer? Or are you in my computer, or out, or whatever? So I left it. Oh, no. Can you see? You're the one controlling the screen. And I thought, yeah, right. Right. So that I went to the bank, and I called the police on my way to the bank.
Good for
I
you.
let them know. And the policeman said, just so you know, he said, even though it looked like there was $5,000 in that bank that went in, he said it would have been a false transaction, and I said, okay, well, I said, clearly I'm going to ask the teller, even though he told me, do not ask the teller, whatever, just go and ask for $5,000. I thought, this guy's an idiot. Like, he really should have instructed me a little bit better. I'm thinking.
He got sloppy.
So very sloppy. So anyway, yeah. And see, they use the $50 because it's easy. Had it been you know, $50.25 or whatever, but 50, he could then blame it on me that I didn't know that I added an extra 2 zeros to the typing, right? Oh gosh. And then I thought, you know, he started, I mean, he's like, you know, using JC, you know, like he was swearing. And I thought, and I'm like, wow. I said, and you work for Microsoft? I said, and they allow this. I said, they allow this type of language, like when you're speaking to clients. I just, right. But again, I thought, okay, Lisa, don't push him too much, because now you're getting him riled up, right? But that's part of their spiel. It's just, you could tell. And he's like, okay, I'm getting my supervisor. It's like, oh my gosh. I thought, okay, these guys are turning into really bad actors now. But I thought, how many people would, you know, just, again, just sending the $4,700 a wad of cash. I mean, come on, right? But I tell you what, he messaged me. I got, so whatever, the police told me what to do. I put a hold on my, like, I went into my bank. I made sure, like, they shut everything down, passwords, like nobody could have access. But my fear was my computer. So I actually messaged you, but then I messaged a really good contact of mine, and I said, hey, do you know somebody that is like a cyber expert? They advised me, the police actually advised me not to go to Best Buy, because that's, you know, often when I need to do something with my computer, something small, I'll just take it over there. And they said, you know what, for something like this, like our cyber, so within the police department, they have cyber experts. And he said, I spoke to my cyber expert, and he said, don't take it somewhere like Best Buy, because he said they often make minimum wage. And he said, you're not guaranteed to get somebody that will do what you really need them to do, you know, potentially, because you don't know what these guys did to your computer. So sure enough, thank goodness, I found somebody, he was phenomenal. And he met me within 10 minutes. Like, we met, he took my computer, he was just dying. He's like, I can't believe you went for that. And I said, listen, don't read me the riot act right now. I just need you. I said, I don't know if these guys are still in my computer, if they still have access to my computer, right? But I said, I didn't want to set them off. I played along. And I said, so, because I said, right now, I said, they're waiting for my phone call. So I said, you need to get in here and like shut things down. So they're not. And sure enough, 15 minutes later, they started texting me. Ma'am, we haven't heard from you. Ma'am, you know, oh, what's going on? Where have you brought the money? And from different phone numbers. And I took screenshots of every single phone number. So every time the phone rang, I never answered it. I just took screenshots, because I thought, no, I want to document where, and they were coming, Florida number, Seattle number, like New York number. They were everywhere. Right. And, you know, they thought they had me. So they were doing great on their follow-up. They were being very, very consistent with their follow-up. And then he tried calling me a couple times. Then he sent me a text, and then he gave up. He probably thought, okay, she's, you know, but when I got my computer back, they had installed a program. So, you know,
surprise.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, everything, I got my entire computer scrubbed, and I just, and this guy was amazing. And, you know, it cost me like $150 Canadian. And I thought, oh my gosh, I lost 4 hours of work time. So I was trying to save $199.99 US. I lost 4 hours of time, which is worth a lot. And, you know, I ended up, well, it was a very worthwhile expense, you know, write off $150, which I thought was very reasonable for what he did.
Yeah, it can happen to anybody, Lisa. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah. So, and it's so interesting, Cheri. So a week, not even 5 days after, I got an email from a good friend of mine. And I know we don't speak a lot, but she said, hey, can I get your help? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? And she said, oh, my niece, like, and she lives in a small town. She's not close to the city. So it's almost like they knew her location. She was 2.5 hours away from a bigger center. I'm trying to buy an iTunes card, you know, for my niece. It's her birthday and I can't, blah, 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 blah. Could you please go and get some iTunes cards and send them to me? And I promise I'll reimburse you for them. So I got smart like really fast. So I'm like, oh no, I may have gotten caught one time. I'm not going for stuff twice. So I hadn't spoken to this person in a couple years. I Facebook messaged her and I said, can you send me an email asking about iTunes cards for your niece? I said, I think you don't, either your email's been hacked or mine or whatever. Yeah. And she goes, nope. And I said, FYI, this is really Lisa. Like, because sometimes they can get into your messenger too and start sending, right? Yeah. So I thought, oh my gosh, like, am I going to have to keep dealing with this? But now it's terrible because I'm a very trusting person and I love people and stuff. And that's, unfortunately, that's who they're looking for. They're looking to prey on people who are very, very, very trusting, right?
Yeah, they're predators.
And they're predators. And I'm like, wow, I just can't believe how these people can even live with themselves. But there's tons of them out there. So anyway, I just, what, my big concern too is that I always want to protect people I'm doing business with. I have information in my computer and stuff. And if anybody does business with me, don't worry, it's all good. Everything good.
It's all squared away.
He went through it with a fine-tooth comb, but people have to be careful and they have to get, as you mention this all the time, like they have to keep, protection on their computers and understand and put locks. Like I change PIN numbers on everything. I change locks on everything. Like again, with the bank, and I save a lot of passwords on my computer. Right. And what is that thing called that you should have to put, it's a
password manager, like LastPass?
Or, like if you pass in, or it'll text you and you have to put in an ID number before you have access.
That's two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication. Thank you. See, I don't even know. I knew there was the right term for it, but the computer expert that I was dealing with, he's like, yeah, you've got to have two-factor on everything, like absolutely everything. So I was changing passwords and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was, it was a wake-up call. It was a real wake-up call. And I thought, wow, how many, and that's what he said. He said, people are just fishing. They're just fishing and fishing and fishing, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going to get somebody. Yeah, somebody's dumb enough to take $4,700. Oh, and they're threatening. They're threatening to get you charged. There's a big threat on the end. If I didn't get this money, that that I would get charged and have a bad name, and that so they make it seem like
Really.
And oh yeah, it was got to be. That's why I phoned the police, because there was actually threats involved.
So if you don't send the $4,700 in Bitcoin or put a wad of cash in the FedEx, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, that you know what, you're gonna be fined. We're gonna come. Our company's gonna come after you heavily, and that's whatever. You're gonna have everything shut down for a minimum of 2 weeks. You're not gonna be able to do business. It was, and of course, it wasn't the initial guy telling me that. It was the next guy.
Supervisor. Supervisor.
Supervisor.
Supervisor in the boiler room. Supervisor. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just really interesting. So yeah, so that's, what I just thought, because I really appreciate it when people share stuff that they've gone through, right? And it gives you because who knows, somebody else might get a Microsoft Teams email, and it's like, well, that's crazy, and had I slowed down and actually gone to see if this charge had gone through my card, because I'm very diligent with my statements and charges and whatever, but I didn't take time to do that, because I would have been able to see, well, this is weird. This charge hasn't taken place, right? So I almost just, sometimes as business owners, we're juggling all of this. I mean, I have 4 kids, so I'm answering kids, and I'm like, what the heck? What do you mean I got charged? So then I have a few minutes to make the call, which takes me 4 hours to deal with. And so I thought, no, lesson, Lisa, better. Like you have to slow down to really take a look at what's in front of you here. You really have to take a look. So.
And what I heard you say is something like that happens, have the insight and the tenacity to know immediately how to get out of that situation without escalating it further, and then call the police. You did absolutely the right thing by getting the police engaged from a forensics perspective, and to get them involved.
Well, and it's interesting because I mean, and whatever, I called 911. I was just like, I was in my car. I had to go to the bank. I was supposed to be getting $4,700. I was trying to get this guy off the phone. And yes, I mean, I went with my instinct right away. And I knew as soon as he was in, things were not adding up. But again, I didn't want to get him riled up, because that's all you need. Because once I gave him that ability to drive my computer, and it's interesting because everything was fine up until that point, right? Once he was in, that's when things started. I went, hold on, things aren't adding up here at all.
Because then he had the leverage, and I think Microsoft or Microsoft Teams or any other major corporation.
That's right.
It could be Zoom, it could be Cisco WebEx, it could be any major video teleconferencing platform that so many people are using now. So I think there's an uptick in this type of thing going on right now because so many people are working from home, and they're really aggressive.
So people have to be, but that's another thing is that, like you said, I had to keep them going, because the minute that they know that you're on to them, who knows what they could have done? Like, who knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't want to risk that either at that point, because he knew I was willingly going to get his money, apparently.
Yeah, he was counting that 4,700, 47, 47, 47.
And I should have said, I should have said to him, so what kind of paper should I wrap it in? Is there any particular one that they don't take a look at? Like that, how can we actually get under the radar? How can I best help you? What would be the best way to do this? I thought, oh boy, I could really go with this one now. But I just wanted to make sure that all of my banking got secured first and foremost, and that I got on right away. And that's another thing. It's like, guys, it's something, heaven forbid, do not do this. But now I will not let anybody drive my computer again. Like, I don't care how many questions I ask them, because at the end of the day, who do you trust with these companies, with these people, like with security? Unless you have somebody like yourself or somebody you trust, I would say don't. Would that be your advice?
It would actually, yeah, and preferably have somebody locally who can fix it. Like I said, when I ask you a question, well, is it this approach or that approach? Are you trying to get forensics evidence so you can prosecute them to the police? Or are you just trying to get it repaired? Is there malware on there? Did you install something? And by then you can find somebody there locally, which is absolutely best, because then they don't even have to remote in. You can just actually take the whole computer and really use their tools in their home lab or whatever office they're using to really do a thorough investigation.
Yeah. And that's what he did. That's what he did, and he was able to run scans and go through it and run them again and check it, right? And he said because he happened to live about 10 minutes away from me, and because he was able to bring it home, he goes, I don't have to charge you for sitting in your office. Like, he goes, I can run this while I'm at home cooking dinner, and then
that's what I mean. Yeah. It's much more convenient. So limits your overhead and cleaning up this attack. Really, it was really a scam attack.
It was a scam attack, and
an attack on your business.
Like, yeah, it was. And I mean, whether we have a business or not, I mean, people have to be careful. And like you said, there's so many predators out there, right? And I was so mad at myself. I was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I let this guy in. But again, but you guys, like, if your spidey sense, if you start sensing something, we always say, like, go with your gut. And there was just so many things that weren't lining up. But I thought, no, I'm just going right along, right? I'll just pretend, and that's what kept them super calm. And then when I called 911, she's like, well, is this really an emergency? I said, well, actually, yes. I said, they're now threatening me on the other end. And I've been given very strict instructions. So I am concerned, and I want to know what I should be doing. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to take the money and do that, but really, should I be answering the phone back when they call? Should I not? Should I, right? That's your job. No, is to, because this happens to people all the time. And it's interesting because he said, yes, if he phones back, tell him that you're on to him and just let him know, and he won't call back. And I thought, yeah, but my computer hasn't been fully dealt with yet. Like,
Yeah.
so why would I tell him that? I just played dumb and I just kept taking screenshots of the calls and not. Because I thought, why would I even choose to engage with this man again?
Yeah. At that
So
point,
I didn't really like that advice, I didn't. So whatever. Again, you guys, you don't have to listen to them all the time. I mean, go with what feels right for you.
I like
yeah,
your spidey sense. Get your spidey sense tingles.
Get your spidey.
Yeah.
I just wish my spidey sense would have tingled a little bit earlier.
It's okay. I'm sorry that happened to you, Lisa. It's a very informative story, and I hope it helps a lot of folks out there. Just be aware that it can happen to anybody. If you let your guard down, you get busy. I mean, just, they just prey on people who are busy with life, and now with the pandemic and around the globe, people with families that work from home, there's just a lot going on, whether you don't have a business or not. People are just engaged with so many things, and the daily lifestyle of many people have changed, and people are just dealing with a lot of stuff. So it's easy to be distracted now, I think. My perspective, it's easy to be distracted and let your guard down.
Yeah, it is for sure. And again, being too trusting, right? And I thought I had learned from other. I mean, I've never been taken for a ride, but I tell you what, it's just my husband grew up in the city, so he was always like, I grew up on a farm, right? So nothing, you guys, farm people are amazing. We're super friendly, and my husband's like, you're too trusting of people. I'm not, but we trust everybody. Nobody does bad things to people, yeah, right? But here's the thing too, is that I still have, so much faith in people, because yes, there's always going to be evil. There's always going to be bad people out there that are praying, but I truly believe that there's far, the good far outweighs the bad.
I think so too, Lisa. I think that there's a lot of good in people, and you tend to focus on that. I think this was just a one-off thing that happened in your life. There's nothing you did to attract it. You were just part of a sea, and they were just fishing along the whole sea. If it hadn't been you, it would have been the next person. And then just move on to the next person. There's nothing personally against you. I think you handled it very well, extricating yourself from that and minimizing the damage. So
thank you. Well, and I hope maybe with it happening to me and me actually being the one that bit and didn't give them what they wanted, it saved somebody else. I mean, they're going to keep doing it. I mean, that's just their thing, right? And if this scam doesn't work, well, we'll just move on to another one. We'll just, these guys, that's all they do. I mean, we're all about, encouraging our clients to come up with ideas and be creative and, pivot and turn. Well, these guys are masters at it. They are businessmen, just in a different type, with just a whole lack of integrity. So
yeah, just with the wrong moral code. Yeah.
It's just a whole different level. They're just wired differently.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Lisa. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience on how they can get in touch with you to either do business with you or hear more about this or anything?
I mean, if anybody wants to connect, obviously, I mean, I'm a professional networker. I love connecting with people, and I do build globally. So, it's we just opened in 12 European markets. So if there's people that are watching that, want to look at different business opportunities of working from home, I do really deal in the health space, definitely in the health and wellness space. Reach out to me, Lisa Wolny on Facebook, and it's WOLNY. I'm on Instagram, Have It All Girl on Instagram, or you can reach me through my website, which is lisawolny.com. So thank you so much for having me, Cheri. I really appreciate it. This was kind of fun. I mean, it wasn't fun when it was happening, but I'm
sure. Well, thanks for sharing your story, and I'm sure you're not the first person that's happened to. You're just the one who was able to extricate herself well, minimize the damages, and then have lessons learned to share, paying it forward with other people. And not many people would, be brave enough to share it. They'd just be like, sweep it under the rug and move on. But you're actually taking something negative and turning it into a positive for sharing it and helping other people, navigate those shark-infested waters, as I like to call them, because they're sharks.
They're sharks.
They're sharks.
Oh, yeah.
Cyber sharks.
they're cyber sharks. Oh yeah, and I tell you what, I mean, they nipped at me, but they didn't get to swallow me up. So I was just like, I got away. I was the one that got away.
The one that got away. We'll hashtag this episode, Lisa. I'll put hashtag CyberShark, the one that got away. If you like that.
I love that. That's good. So awesome. Well, thanks. Well, and listen, if this can help one person, then why not, right? I'm all about that, and I just think we need to share stories and so people can learn, not do the same thing, or if somebody has gone for it, knowing that they're not alone, going like, how stupid could I have been? And like, well, it happens. It happens.
Awesome. And if anybody else has anything to share, if they just hit me up, and you hit me up privately as well. Just send me a direct message.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, either through Facebook or on my website or Instagram. So those are the 3 platforms I'm on the most. So.
Yeah, and we just started a new Facebook group too. Serena helped me set that up. It's the Fortune 500 Cybersecurity Adapted for Small Business. So we're going to invite you to join that, and then we'll send some connections your way, and maybe engage in a little conversation along those lines. I just uploaded some pictures on my lunch break today. I was doing some corporate consulting, but I found a few pictures of security controls and things and uploaded those. So if you don't mind, maybe I could post this there as well.
Oh gosh! No, absolutely.
Just on the main show, but
yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Like, trust me, I've got nothing to hide, and you know what? If somebody learns from it or has a good laugh from it, or maybe they can share it with somebody to go, hey, if you ever get this kind of email, just know, like, beware, right?
And these people in particular, these cyber sharks alleged they were with Microsoft Teams.
Yep. Oh yes, there. Yep. There's the email, and that's the heading, and it was it's so funny, Defender Firewall. So I knew I had paid for some center, and then the computer guy goes,
right. I mean, they make it good enough to sound right, and if it's so long ago, yeah.
Well, here's the thing, because I'm not a tech expert. I know that I have some kind of security thing on my computer, right? I don't even use the right terms because that's just not my wheelhouse. And so my computer guy he goes, Defender, he goes, that comes with your computer. You don't even pay for that. But see, I didn't know that. He knew that. So had you received this, he would have just laughed at it and said, oh, nice try. Whereas me, I'm like, yeah, geez, I paid for this thing a year ago. I didn't know what it was, right? So they're banking on finding people like me. They are.
Well, thanks again for sharing your story, Lisa. Any closing thoughts you'd like to leave everyone with before we log off for the night?
Just, you know what? Just beware. And I think you guys all know that, but it's interesting is that we still have to keep our spidey sense, go with your gut and keep on the lookout. But you know what? Again, I don't want people to lose trust in everybody and everything. The world's just, we're just experiencing so much, and people are losing faith in a lot of things, and it's unfortunate, right? But again, just, you know what? Just keep moving forward, and having hope, and just there's great people like myself and Cheri. There's tons of us, right? So you just have to go out and network and find them, and really build up a strong and trusting network, because there's a lot of incredible people out there in the world right now. So, I just and just congrats to you again on all of your success with your show, and you're doing great things.
Well, thanks, Lisa, for a very positive message. Appreciate your time this evening. Thanks again, and hit Lisa up if you have any questions, and we're going to sign off here on the Cyber Show. Please give us some feedback, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks and good night.